I jumped ahead in my first video and didn't describe the reason or talk about the reason why I was focusing on narcissism. It's my belief that I was the victim of a narcissist, and I've spent the last 2 years trying to figure out what went wrong and why things happened the way they did. And it was recently that I just started reading up and discovering this, looking at things about him, things that I remembered about him, and everything I read led me to narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder. So I'm going to touch on that today, and I'm going to I'm going to read some stuff off of the internet, and this is nothing that I'm not a professional. I'm just reading it to you all so you can know the reasons why I'm focusing on this. So first of all, a narcissist is described as a person who has an excessive interest or admiration of themselves. Okay, the 9 traits of a narcissist are arrogance and domination, or a domineering personality, grandiosity, a preoccupation with power and success, a lack of empathy, a belief that they are unique, a sense of entitlement, excessive admiration, exploitive, I'm sorry for the lag. My computer jumped ahead on me. Okay, I'm back to the page. The definition, according to Psychology Today, the hallmarks of personality disorder are grandiosity, a lack of empathy for other people, a need for admiration. People with this condition are often described as arrogant, self-centered, manipulative, and demanding. They may concentrate on grandiose fantasies. They believe that they deserve special treatment, and this carries over from childhood to adulthood, and it is consistent in work and personal relationships. This association enhances their self-esteem. They like to be around people that they deem superior or better. It makes them feel like they belong in that group, and by being in that group, they feel unique. This enhances their self-esteem, which is typically quite fragile. Individuals with MPD seek excessive admiration and attention. They are often left feeling humiliated and empty when they experience an injury in the form of criticism or rejection. So before I go any further, I want to touch on a couple of these things. The reason why I feel the person that I had gotten involved with fits this category is because he lived in a fantasy world. But, he told it in such a way that it seemed like it could come true. The job that he has, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'll just say that he has a very demanding, physically laborious job, and he could travel anywhere in the United States to work, anywhere in the country, really, to work the type of job that he does. And he talked often about going to the west part of the country, Colorado, Wyoming. There's a lot of that type of work that he does in that part of the country, and he talked a lot about that, and he would ask me, how would you feel if I asked you today to be ready to just leave to go to Colorado? And I was so enamored by this person, after a couple of months, that I was like, yeah, I would go with you because I want to be with you. And that's the way I felt. But it was all made up, of course. None of it was real. He was just living these grand dreams. And I began to see him as a dreamer. Somebody later on, after this was all behind or over with, said he's a bullshitter. And I said, well, I was kind of still living under the haze of the abuse that, I had lived with. And I said, no, he's not a bullshitter. He's a dreamer. But now I realize, he's a bullshitter. It is part of their disease or part of this disorder that they have. Arrogance and domineering. Now, he was never domineering to me. Well, he was in a way toward the end. Arrogance. Yeah, he was arrogant. He liked to show off his, ability to buy expensive vehicles and stuff like that. He liked to be arrogant about the things that he had that other people didn't have. And I think a lot of the reason why he got involved with me at all was this preoccupation with wanting to belong, wanting to be a part of something. I think he saw me as a way to get his foot into the door with this group of people that he wanted to be around. So that was the sense of entitlement. Requiring excessive admiration. Yeah, he liked to sit and talk about himself, about the achievements. I don't really think many of them were real. I don't think he really had a lot of achievements as far as success. He had a well-paying job, and as it turned out, that I didn't know at the time, but I found out really quickly, was that the woman that he was living with also had a very high-paying job, and so they could afford the nice things that he had or that they had. And it was like, here's one thing I want to talk about. On the outside, he had a very, very nice, expensive truck. I mean, this truck was like, I don't know what they call it, but like just decked out with all the toys and things, bells and whistles. He had expensive rifles and hunting equipment. And just on the outside, his life looked like, he wore expensive coats and boots, work clothing. Inside his home, it was a different world. It was like you walked through the door into a different life. He slept on a mattress on the bedroom floor. He had no bed. He said he didn't want a bed. He said he slept better when the mattress was firmly on the floor. His house was, for a lack of better terms, was disgustingly dirty. The first night that I spent there with him, I was just, I couldn't believe the kitchen floor was so sticky. The kitchen countertops were sticky. It was like syrup or grape jelly or something was dried. And I'm not here to badmouth, I'm not here to like disparage this person, really. I mean, I probably will, but it was like a different world on the outside. And the reason why inside of his home was this way was because nobody ever came there. He didn't care how dirty the house was. He didn't care if he ever cleaned. The only room in the house that was even remotely clean was the living room. But the bathrooms were filthy. I mean, oh my God. These were like truck stop bathrooms. And I stupidly, ignorantly helped him clean these bathrooms. I'll get into all that later on down the line, but I just want to say, I came here to make these videos. It's kind of cathartic to me. I just pick up my phone, turn it on, and start talking. I'm not really I'm reading this stuff off the internet. I have no, I have no training or education in this. I've heard the term narcissist on television shows and movies. I've never really considered what it was. It was just another psychological term, like sociopath. But it wasn't until I started typing in stuff on the internet, like things he would say and do and the way he would behave, and everything came back to the same thing, was narcissism. So learning a term, learning a definition of what I went through, what I was put through, I'm going to get in more deeply into the terms and the words that are used, that these people do, the behaviors. But today, I just wanted to touch on this because my first video, I just kind of jumped over all that and went straight into, like I say, I pick up my phone and start talking, so whatever came out that day. But according to this, Psychology Today, 50 to 75% of the people diagnosed with NPD are men. And I'm not saying that there aren't women, because I do know some, and I do have a person that I've known for many years who is very descriptive of being a narcissist. But additionally, it is common for adolescents to display these characteristics as they develop. And I've always thought that this man, I've always thought about this, he lived the life of a grown man. He had a home, he owned his own home, he had automobiles, he worked every day, he never missed work. He was very responsible in all of that. But his mind, his actions seem to have been stunted somewhere around the age. I would put him in the mindset and the behavior of around 13 to 14-year-old boy. You know, maybe 15, let's say, because it was very sex, was a big part of his, I don't know how to describe it. He wasn't like a dirty person he was very modest, and he didn't cuss much at all. He was very laid back and low key in his behavior in that manner. But his mind seemed to have been stunted somewhere around that age. But I'm going to run out of time here in a minute. I just wanted to touch on this. These people, they don't know what's wrong with them. They know that something is not right. And many of them turn to drugs and alcohol. And this man drank a lot. And that's another thing I've read a lot about on here on these and watching these videos, is alcoholism is a big part of these people's lives. And his siblings, he came from a family where he had a split set of siblings. There was two groups. His dad had been married once and had 6 or 7 children, and then married a second time and had 6 or 7 children. And many of his siblings had problems with alcohol. He had one brother that committed suicide, and one brother died from alcohol-related problems. And he himself drank quite a bit, but in the beginning, I just always saw it as social drinking. He didn't really seem like he needed to drink. I think, I don't know, I don't want to get too deeply into that. Like I say, I'm going to run out of time in a minute. YouTube only allows me 15 minutes if my page is certified or verified. So I just wanted to kind of give an idea of what narcissism is. It's people that really feel like they are owed something. They go after people, they target people that can give them that, whatever it is. Or maybe they just target people because they are lonely or bored and they just want somebody that they can play games with for a while and discard. But like I said in my previous video, they do not discard you. They keep you around, and I'm going to get into that in a couple of more videos. But I just wanted to I'm going to go now because I'm running out of time, but my next video I will touch on this more deeply. Thanks.